So how do you pass all these math tests? And what do the best math students do? Coming right up. Did you know that your brain is 2% of your weight, but consumes 20% of your energy? The food that you have consumed over your lifetime, the quality of that food, has influenced the structure of your brain. Not only that, the amount of exercise and sleep you get also impacts the quality and the structure of your brain. It's actually very important to get enough sleep. Memory is very important to learning. It turns out there's 3 stages to memory. There's sensory memory, which is extremely short-term, working memory, and then long-term memory. And information is only gradually moved from the working memory to our long-term memory. And learning occurs when we strengthen or weaken connections between these brain cells that helps us create these long-term memories. When 2 neurons interact a lot, when they interact often, they form a bond that allows very rapid and easy communication. They actually form multiple bonds between them, sort of like a multi-lane highway. And when 2 neurons interact rarely, then that doesn't always facilitate the best transmission. Sometimes it's an incomplete transmission. You might have a faulty memory or understanding. An example of that could be your daily commute. Have you ever had the experience where you arrive at your workplace or arrive at the college and you're so used to going there, you sort of don't remember the complete process of getting there because it's so automatic? But if you go to a brand new city, you really have to focus and pay attention. It's not like driving on your daily commute. The more we rehearse and the more we practice over time, the more we are able to lay down strong long-term memories and create these superhighways in our brains. When a baby is learning language, their brain cells actually get larger, and there's many more connections that are grown between those brain cells. And it turns out this is a process that can continue throughout your life. The more you learn, the easier it is for you to learn new things. Learning causes your brain to grow denser and certain areas in the brain to become more active. So you want to make sure that you're getting a lot of practice and physically growing your brain. Learning has to build on previous knowledge. That's why you've got to do it over time. So your brain connections, they can only grow from existing brain fibers. You've got to build on information you already have. And boy, this is really true in math, isn't it? I want you to try to solve math problems regularly, multiple times a week. Solving a math problem causes the dendrites or brain fibers to grow thicker. But every night when you sleep, your neural networks are either reinforced by what you've been practicing during the day or destroyed if you're not practicing. So practicing over time is what creates these really strong and powerful and enduring double strong big superhighway connections in your brain. It's also really helpful to get that information in when you're doing problems, to talk to other students. That's actually been shown to be fantastic learning. So far we've talked about how to get information into your brain. Next, we're going to have to talk about what do you do, how do you make sure that you can get it back out when you need to, like for a test. Let's talk about what the very top students do. They do things a little bit differently than the lower kind of 90% of students. Now, what I'm going to tell you is based on a TED Talk by Douglas Barton of a company called Elevate Education, and they've done studies on tens of thousands of students in many different countries. The top students are quite self-disciplined. They know how to cut out distractions. But it's not just a matter of hard work. They work hard doing the right things. They don't just review their notes or rewrite their notes to prepare for a test. They do the practice, like I've talked about, to get the information in. But the top students, they know how to stick to a study timetable. And they do something different than the students who are not in the top. They put together a study timetable and they write it, putting in the things that they love to do every day, socializing, going to the gym, whatever it is they like to do every day, and then they put the study in around the things they love to do. And these students are much more likely to stick to their study timetable. The number one predictor, it's nothing to do with IQ, and it's actually nothing to do with the amount of hard work, although you still have to work hard. That is necessary, but not enough to get a high grade. It turns out practice exams are the big differentiator. You can almost perfectly predict the results of a student by the number of practice exams that they have done. And this is for any class, not just math. Only about 11% of students, the very top students, do practice exams. And the more they do, the more likely they are to do well. Because this tests how you use what you remember. It's much more active and a much better way to prepare. Use practice tests. I hope I've convinced you that cramming does not work. It doesn't work. Don't do it. 99% of us have admitted to cramming at some point, and I've done it too, and it was not the best idea. Spaced out learning is shown to be much more beneficial along with the practice tests. Our brains rely on familiarity, but recognizing is not the same as knowing. When you cram, you're much more likely to store information in your working memory, not in your long-term memory. So we feel familiar with it. So we feel like we've learned it, but we really haven't. So data shows that only 20% of the information is retained when crammed. Don't cram. Start ahead of time. Do what the top students do. I would like to invite you to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thanks very much for listening.